What's up, guys? Rivera here, the absolute best stand-up comic in the world. You know, I'm gonna tell you guys, you are never, as a person of color, going to please people of color. It's just what it is. People of color are always going to find a way to tell you that you're doing things wrong or you're not representing in the right way. And it's exhausting. It really is exhausting when you think about the fact that I try my best to stay open to people of color because I know that in certain cases we've dealt with certain things and certain discriminations within this country where we just feel a certain way about certain things. And sometimes we just want things to be right. And I get that. But when it comes to some of this protesting and stuff like that, I'm like, no, 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 Margie. That is not what we are doing. What I'm specifically talking about right now is this Antwon Rose situation. The situation I talked about the other day where a 17-year-old kid got fatally shot by the police in East Pittsburgh. The thing that gets me about this situation is when I first posted about it, I just posted the don't run thing. We've already been over that twice, so I'm not going to go over that again. People are still mad at me about saying don't run, though. They're acting like I'm saying something like, that the cops were justified, which is not what I'm saying. So, on the opposite side, I had a guy that was clearly racist hit me up and say, this is the way these black thugs are, da 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 da, which, I corrected him and was like, those aren't the facts of the case. And so I told him what the actual facts of the case were. And I was like, let's keep it to the facts if we're going to do this. So I concentrated on the fact that they hadn't found evidence, it didn't seem, that this kid had actually done anything. Like, he was in a car that was the same description as the car that a drive-by had actually happened in, and that's why the car got pulled over. So I was going with that and willing to give the kid the benefit of the doubt. The kid's a 17-year-old honor student, so I mentioned that when I was talking to the guy, and I was just kind of like, don't let your racism blind you, which I still stand by that. This guy, what he was saying, it was just coming from a racist place, you could tell. So I was hoping that we could give the kid the benefit of the doubt. This is a very tragic thing. Then I ended up getting hit up yesterday from a friend that actually lives in Pittsburgh, and he comments on my post, and he was like, they just found out that there's footage of the kid shooting in the drive-by, and they found an empty magazine clip on the kid. Well, now you just made me look like an asshole, because I've been standing up for you, and I still don't think that has anything to do with race. That's not what I'm saying at all. But at the same time, I've been defending you when really it turns out that you were doing some messed up stuff, some stuff you shouldn't have been doing. So then a lady hits me up today, and she is going real hard because she's a white lady that has black kids, which I get that, or biracial kids, I should say, which I get that. I get that a mother's love and having to watch her kids go through certain things, I get that. But at the same time, you as a white woman, I don't care how many biracial kids you have, are not going to educate me on what it's like to be a person of color in America, especially since I am a Mexican-American person from Arizona. So I definitely know what racism and discrimination feel like. So I have to have this conversation with this woman. And then she brings up even if he did shoot somebody, because here's the way I feel about it. I'm giving the best advice that I can give, because no matter how many protests you have, you're not going to bring this person back to life. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, I think that once you found out somebody did something wrong, then it's not really good for a protest anymore, because you're not going to get the sympathy of the general public, which you need people of all colors, of all races, to feel like, yes, this was a true tragedy in order for your protest to be effective. Otherwise, people feel like you're just shutting down traffic for bullshit. That's what people feel like. It's bad enough that even when we believe in your causes, we still feel like you're shutting down traffic for bullshit. Like me, I know I personally, when it comes to people shutting down traffic, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's even benefiting me. Do not shut down traffic. I've got places to be. And then some people will be like, but a person died. Yeah, a person died. I'm still alive and have bills to pay. I need to take this road to get to work. So right now, you're impeding what I'm trying to do, and I don't care what your cause is. Once you do that, I do not have your back. I don't care. I do not have your back. And I think a lot of us feel that way. But let's say at least it's something that everybody agrees in. Then I just come off looking like an asshole, and everybody else is like, yeah, they need to shut down traffic. Get over it. And then I just have to get over it because, everybody else outweighs what it is I want, and then I have to accept that this is just me being selfish, which is the case. Sometimes it is just me being selfish. And then I just have to accept that, and then I just move on, and everybody has their protest, and it's very effective. But when you protest after a person has clearly done something wrong, and there's proof that he's done something wrong. Like, this was one of the biggest problems with the Mike Brown situation, and why you didn't get a lot of public support on that. And I know people get mad when you bring that up, because people think we're supposed to still feel like Mike Brown was a tragedy. And for some of us, we feel like, no, really, the cops just took a bad dude off the street. That's all that happened. And I don't think this kid was necessarily a bad kid, and I don't think he deserved to die. I don't think that, even if he was shooting in the drive-by. But at the same time, you have to remember that somebody got shot in that drive-by. They got shot in the stomach, and they had to go to the hospital, which I don't think that Antwon Rose ran the decision to shoot this guy by a jury of people. I think that they just went there and started shooting. I could be wrong. There could have been a jury trial that I wasn't aware of, and this guy could have been fully adjudicated, and then they decided to shoot him in the drive-by. This is all alleged as far as I go. For all I know, they ran him through the full process, but I doubt it. And as a person who personally has been shot in a drive-by, and yeah, I'm telling you, I personally have been shot in a drive-by. And I know some people are going to be like, Ty, you've had everything happen to you. I've lived a lot of life. That's what I'll tell you. I've lived a lot of life. Let me tell you this, and then we can wrap it up. When I was 17 years old, I hung out with gangbangers in Phoenix. I was 16. Sorry, I lied. I was 16 when I was hanging out with gangbangers in Phoenix. So, 16, hanging out with gangbangers in West Phoenix, and I didn't know that they were gangbangers. This was when I was, I had just moved from a smaller town in Arizona to Phoenix. So I wasn't used to people being gangbangers. In the town I lived in, we didn't have gangbangers. So I had just moved to Phoenix. I was hanging out with these kids, and I was partying it was like, we were finishing off a keg. It was basically a kickback, if you're familiar with the kickback, in front of a friend's house, a friend who's related to my family, very close family friend. So we just refer to her as an aunt, even though she's not technically our aunt. And I was hanging out in the front yard, and all of a sudden, some people drive by saying some stuff, and I don't know what it is they're saying, but they're yelling something, and it sounds aggressive, and they drive off, and I'm not thinking anything of it, because the guys I'm hanging out with start yelling something back at them, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. And a few minutes later, I'm still in good times mode. I'm just helping finish up this keg, and I wasn't even drunk yet. I was probably on my first empty Thirst Buster cup, if you're familiar with the Thirst Buster cups. Yep, I had finished the soda out of it, and I was having 44 ounces of beer at a time. I was on probably my first, maybe my second 44 ounce, which, I was a 16-year-old kid. I was used to drinking. So I'm having my 44 ounce, and all of a sudden, that same car ends up driving by, but I didn't even notice. My sister noticed, and she was like, hey, that car just shut off its lights. And then all of a sudden you just start hearing pop, 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 pop. Next thing you know, I end up finding out that they were shooting, because to me it sounded like firecrackers. So I really thought it was a coincidence that my sister said that car just shut off its lights. And then all of a sudden I started hearing pop, 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 pop. Like, it wasn't in my scope of possibility that it could possibly be somebody shooting, because I was from a small town and people didn't shoot people there. Well, kids didn't shoot kids there, and we were all kids at the time. But yeah, I ended up getting shot. It ended up I got shot in the leg. It went in my calf. It came out at the bend of my knees, and then it went back into my upper thigh. And they decided that they would have to rip through too much muscle either way in order to pull the bullet out, and it wasn't worth it. There was a scary point, because I had to do 8 hours of testing. On the way to the hospital, the paramedics were talking to each other and acting like I wasn't there, which was very unprofessional of them, but I was a kid and things were different back then, so it wasn't as likely that I could just sue them for hurting my feelings. But they were talking about me for hanging out with gangbangers, which I hadn't even realized I was hanging out with gangbangers at the time. I really didn't. And they mentioned to each other that they might have to amputate my leg because of the way and where the bullet had gone, because the bullet had done quite a bit of damage, I guess, or could have possibly done quite a bit of damage because of the way it went in one way, came out the other way, and went back into another part of my leg. So they talked about that. Luckily, after 8 hours of testing and me being in excruciating worry and having to see my parents, my parents were wrecked because their son, their baby boy, had gotten shot. I was only 16 years old, and it happened on my mom's birthday. Literally, it happened on my mom's birthday. My mom says that she can never forget it. Not that she would ever forget it anyway, but she'll never forget that it was like the worst birthday present ever. That's what she says. And so it took me 3 weeks to recover as far as being on crutches, and then after that it took another couple weeks for me to get fully my leg to fully work out, because you have your leg bent like that while you're on crutches and you're recovering, and they have the bandage around my knee, or this is very specific for me, I guess, in the way that I healed. And so, I was on the crutches. I had my leg bent like that. So my leg for 3 weeks had been bent like this. And then I had to go through the therapy of stretching my leg out again and starting to put pressure on my foot. And that took a while. And so that led me to quite a process. So when it comes to somebody shooting somebody in a drive-by, maybe I'm not the right person to be sympathetic for that kind of thing. And I'm still not saying that the kid deserved it. But at the same time, when you're living a particular way, when you make certain choices in life, then you open up a bunch of other possibilities. And just as far as karmically what you're dealing with, I can't speak to that. And I personally am not going to protest over anybody's bad choices in life. And that's the way I feel about it. And I know some people are going to say that I'm racist. Some people are going to say I was racist anyway. No matter what I say, as another person of color, I'm still going to have people tell me that I'm operating in some way not as a person of color, which I don't know how that works, but people have decided that. People have decided if I don't say certain things, then all of a sudden I don't know what it's like to be a person of color. Well, the fact that I say things you don't agree with sometimes doesn't mean that my experience hasn't been my experience and that I don't know what it's like to be a person of color. I've had the police mistreat me because I'm brown. I've had the police mistreat me because I'm gay. I've had the police mistreat me because I have trans friends, and I've seen that go down as well. And one day we'll talk about all of that, but I promised you guys, once I told that story, I was done. And I'm going to tell you guys, I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate all the support that I've gotten. I appreciate the people that tell me that they like my point of view and that it's refreshing. I appreciate all of it. I even appreciate the people that respectfully disagree with me. I appreciate all of you guys. I appreciate you taking time out of your days to watch my clips. Now watch more of them and tell your friends about them. Oh, and behind me, all this is going to be fixed. I'll figure something else out. I moved from the other side of the room, and I got to figure it out. But yeah, everybody, enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching. Okay, guys, I just wanted to add this last little piece to let you know. I just read an article from ABC News that said that there was not, in fact, video footage of Antwon Rose actually shooting in a drive-by earlier that night. So that part is not correct. There is not footage of that, according to what I just read on ABC News. Now, something else could come out later, and they could end up telling us that there actually is. But I'm trying to give you guys the most accurate version of what I'm saying. Everything else I said still applies, and I feel like the story of me getting shot is still important. For sometimes why I don't exactly support when I don't think people are doing things that they should be doing, and then other people of color still want me to protest. It's like, nah, I just don't agree with what they were doing. And he did have an empty magazine clip on him, so he was involved in a drive-by, it would seem. Oh, and so you also know, the original report I got was from CBS affiliate KDKA in Pittsburgh, and they had attributed it to sources within the police. That's what it said in the article I read. And I didn't know that counted as an anonymous source. And, you'd think you could get good news from CBS, but I guess everybody's got fake news right now. Anyway, I just wanted to give you guys the newest or the latest so that I'm not spreading misinformation. Thank you for watching once again.